Hello and welcome to Synchronicity Talk Radio for your mind, body, and soul. I'm your host, Marie Benard, and you may be watching this on youtube.com/Marie Benard, or you might be listening on CITR 101.9 FM in Vancouver, or online at CITR.ca, CosmicDimensions.com, EmpowerRadio.com, or on the Co-Creator Network, and wherever you're listening from. Thanks so much for being with us today. I'm recording this for the very first time on Skype, so thank you to Skype. Usually I do the Google Hangouts on air, so hopefully this will work out well. I'm very excited. And today, as you can see on the camera, if you're watching on YouTube, we are speaking with May McCarthy. She is the author of The Path to Wealth, which I have read cover to cover. As you can see, I've got all these little tabbies there, and I've been doing all the practices. So I have lots of questions for May. And since 1982, May McCarthy has co-founded and helped to grow 6 successful companies as large as $100 million in annual revenues. She's an author, speaker, university lecturer, and an angel investor. And she serves on business, philanthropic, arts, and university boards. She's become successful by implementing spiritual principles into her ventures, and it is her passion to pass her knowledge on to others. And she's the author of the best-selling book, Path to Financial Wealth, 7 Steps to Financial Abundance. And this is the 7 spiritual steps for financial abundance. That was quite a mouthful. And May just got back from Florida, where she was speaking at Unity Church.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And did a workshop with many people, and it sounds like it was an exciting event.
Very successful. We had a good time.
Wonderful. All right, well, I have read the book, as I said, and I got my boyfriend Chris on board, and which is really nice. The first thing, though, I have to say is, until you have the practices down, don't loan the book out to other people, because I think that kind of hindered a little bit of my progress. But your book reminds me of psycho-cybernetics, Neville Goddard. I can definitely see how Catherine Ponder has influenced you, and I love your straightforward 7 steps, because the way it's clearly laid out in a daily practice is different than the other books that I've been familiar with, and it really helps to have a practical action plan. So can we start out with the 7 steps?
Sure, we sure can. And thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being with us.
So I designed this book as a business person. I think it's really important to have a very concise and easy to implement plan to achieve your goals. So I decided to use my spiritual practice and put it into a format that anybody could use and achieve success. So the first thing you have to commit to is meeting with this source of intuition, this source of inner wisdom, this source of intelligence every single day. So you set aside 25 to 30 minutes every morning to have this meeting with a partner that's going to guide you and direct you to achieve your goals. It's going to give you insights, gut instincts, thoughts, flashes, signs, messages through other people, lots of different things. So you have to commit to that partnership. You'll have your job, and your spiritual or unseen intelligent partner will have its job. Okay, so that's the first thing. The way that the steps work is we spend 25 to 30 minutes in the morning, and then we have fun all day long, kind of going through, watching for our subconscious and our intuition to point out possibilities to achieve success. And at the end of the day, we give forth anything within us that's not serving us well. So it starts off in the morning. You need to have a place in your home that is not your bed to have this meeting. What you're trying to do is prime your brain for success. So the more that you can show that you're serious about achieving your goals, the better. So pick a couch, pick a chair, pick something, someplace other than your bed, and go ahead and have some tools there in your meeting area. You'll need an uplifting book that you're going to read something from. You'll need a spiral notebook or a journal to write in, and you'll need a pen. The first step is to read from that uplifting book for about 5, maybe 10 minutes maximum, something uplifting that puts you into a receptive mood. You mentioned Catherine Ponder. She's a great author. Any of her books will do. I also recommend a little book that was published in 1925 called The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. But there's a whole bunch of different books listed as suggested reading in the back of my book. So you spend 5 to 10 minutes reading stories about ordinary people having extraordinary experiences, having the kind of success that you want to achieve. What this is doing is making you create a welcoming environment for that same thing to happen for you. All right? You're seeing that it's possible to have the same kind of success in your life. The second step is to write out a gratitude letter. And what you want to do is write out with gratitude everything that you're grateful for that you have. And everything that you want as though you've already achieved it. And this is really important, because what we're trying to do here is enable your subconscious and your intuition to show up in more obvious ways, more often, to point you along paths and so that you can take steps to achieve your goals. And let me give you an example of that. Do you remember the last time you purchased a car or any big item?
I just bought a bed a few weeks ago.
Okay, so you probably looked at all the different models. You maybe laid on, 25 beds. You went online and looked at reviews. You did all sorts of stuff. You imagined yourself sleeping in that new bed, and that made it more welcome into your life. If you were doing the same thing with buying a car, what you'd find is you'd start to notice that model of car driving around everywhere before you made your purchase. It became so real to you, and so your subconscious has picked up and said, oh my gosh, I have to make this goal manifest now. So it's trying to filter all that data that's in front of you so that you can actually notice the possibility to get that car. So that's the second thing you do, is write out gratitude statements for what you have and what you want as though you've already achieved it. Describe the completed goal. The third step is to read what you just wrote out loud. And this anchors it more fully within you and really tells your brain, I'm serious about achieving these goals. Your brain is going to sometimes jump in and try to prevent you from having any disappointments. So if you have a really big goal that your brain doesn't think that you can achieve because you've never achieved anything like that before, then what it's going to do is try and prevent you from having disappointments and keep you safe and work against your subconscious to filter the data that's being presented so that you don't notice these opportunities. So as you do this repeatedly, as you read it out loud with emotion, you're really telling your brain, I'm serious about this. You don't need to protect me. I'm not going to be disappointed. This is really what I want. And it will then eventually, because we're doing this every day, it'll eventually get out of the way. And then finally, the fourth step, which is the last step of the morning session, is to imagine. Imagine seeing yourself in that completed goal, already experiencing what it is that you want. I can tell you that every Olympic athlete or professional athlete that is at the top of his or her game always set aside time every single day to do mental training. Jack Nicklaus is one of my very favorite all-time golfers, and what he had said is that he never shot a shot, even in practice, without first seeing it in his mind's eye. He would see himself and feel himself setting up for the shot, hitting the shot, watching the ball go exactly where he wanted it to go. And he has become one of the all-time greatest golfers of the world. And many, many athletes, musicians, and business people do that same thing. If you want to have great business meetings with customers, you'll see yourself sitting around a table or across a table from a customer, having a really powerful and successful meeting. Or if you want harmonious relationships with your family and friends, you might see yourself at a gathering and all of you are laughing and having a great time. If you want to be physically fit and trim with no pain and things like that, you'll see yourself in your new body, hiking and walking with your family and friends. So imagine what you'll what the outcome of the goal is that you want, and that makes it much more real. And it also welcomes it to show up more often. Then I usually pat the cat on the head and go take my shower and get ready for my day. Now, throughout the day, the fifth step is to look for and notice possibilities that can give you steps to take. This would be, maybe you'll have a thought of someone that you haven't thought of in a long time. That would be an intuitive lead that you should probably call that person. I have a friend of mine she's in her mid-50s, and she didn't have a retirement program, but she really wanted a retirement plan. And so she started doing the daily practice, and she had this thought of this woman that she hadn't talked to in forever, and she felt a little crazy, just picking up the phone and calling her. But she did, and she commented that she didn't know why she was calling her, but she's on a new prosperity program, and that's why she was doing it. During that conversation, what she learned was that her friend had put together this group of very powerful women of finance, and they met monthly. And did she want to come and belong to the group, even though she wasn't in finance? So they invited her in, gave her thousands of dollars worth of free information, helped her get her plan set up, and she made new friends in the process. It's really uncanny how intelligence will show up within you to point you along a path to achieve your goals. The next step is to celebrate. Oh my gosh, you have to celebrate when something good happens. You just have to. You have to jump up and down and celebrate. Because what that's telling you is that you now have proof. You now have proof that this partnership with your inner wisdom, with intuition, the source of your intuition, it's working. And your subconscious is there to help you as well. So you celebrate and then write down the demonstration. Write down the lead that you got so that you do have proof. Because some days we're just not feeling as high and excited as we are other days. And it's nice to turn to that little notebook and see some proof that all these good things that have happened before are gonna happen again. And you can just get through this day, and tomorrow's a new day to go forward and achieve more of your goals. Finally, the seventh step happens at night, right before you go to sleep. This is the time when you want to make some blanket statements just off the top of your head about what you're grateful for. Gosh, I'm grateful that I got parking spaces in front all day today. I'm grateful that I got to meet new people and new potential customers. I'm so grateful for this and that and the other thing, whatever's on the top of your head. And then the second part of that seventh step is to recite a giving forth statement. It's really a prayer or a paragraph that is essentially giving forth anything within you that could be taking up room, that could be replaced with the good things that you want. It's kind of like, if you think of your body, and this is just an analogy, but if you think of your body like a bottle of water, if you're filled up completely to the top, you can't get any more water in. So what we want to do is move out to the side things that are not serving us. Maybe some resentment or some self-criticism or unforgiveness or anger or any sort of judgments. But you recite this prayer, and it is releasing everything that's not serving you and putting it out here so that you now have more room to receive what you want. And those are the 7 steps. The next day you get to do it all over again.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I just dropped my list of questions here on the floor. Now, I wanted to ask you, so I live in a small space, and I'm noticing a couple of challenges with having private time to do the practices. One of the great things is that my boyfriend is on board with it, but what I notice is that there isn't really any space where I can speak this out loud with emotion without him potentially hearing. So my first question is, why not in bed? Why can't I do the practice in bed, or why shouldn't I?
Well, remember, what we're trying to do is train your brain for success. And this is a goal attainment process, so repetition is important. You know, any business leader that's successful will tell you that when you revisit your goals on a regular basis, and you keep them at the forefront of your thoughts, you have a much greater chance of seeing possibilities to achieve them. But when you're reading it out loud, the reason I say to move to a different space is simply because it ends up being a symbol of you taking this very seriously. This is for your goal achievement. This is for your good. This is something. Let me ask you a question. Can you think of somebody who you really admire? I mean, really, really admire, who has achieved monumental success, whose advice you would really value? Can you think of someone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If that person came up to you and said, you know what? I really want to help you achieve your goals. And here's the deal. If you meet with me for 25 minutes every morning and tell me all about your goals, I mean, really describe them using words so that I can see the picture, then I'll give you advice throughout the day. And if you take that advice, you'll achieve your goals. If you're unsure about something or you need clarification, just ask me for another lead. Just ask me for some clarifying advice and I'll give it to you, and eventually you'll achieve your goals. Would you meet with that person every day?
Yeah.
Of course you would. Of course you would. So this is sort of taking it seriously. You're meeting with an intelligence that shows up for your good. It's a source of your intuition, a source of creativity, a source of intelligence that you want to demonstrate that you're very serious about this being an achieved goal, and to realize multiple demonstrations. That's why you don't do it in bed.
Okay. And do you have any tips because I just feel like I'm going to have to break up with my boyfriend if I want to keep doing it every day and say it out loud. Like, I'm trying to find ways to make this a joyful experience rather than something that is...
Well, describe your space. Is the bedroom area separate from your living room or your
Yes.
kitchen or something? Okay. So there's nothing that says that you have to use loud volume when you read out loud. You could use just a quiet voice. The important thing is to feel the vibration and to also hear yourself. And here, let me give you an example. There was one woman that was in one of my workshops, and I teach workshops all over the world. But there was one woman that was in one of my workshops, and she said that her goal was that Uncle Bob not be a butthead at the family reunion. And I commented that you can't have that as a goal. What you can say is, I'm so grateful that I have harmonious relationships and a wonderful time at our family reunion. It's to be about your experience, all right? So as she was reading her old goal out loud, her ears started to indicate to her that that's not really the goal that you want. So hearing yourself, even if it's at a low volume, is really, really important. So I would encourage you to set your alarm really early so that you can go into the kitchen and use a quieter voice to do this, or into your living room and use a quieter voice to do the reading part, but feel the vibration and let your ears hear what you're saying. You don't have to yell it at the top of your lungs.
Okay. Because with the emotion, I feel like my voice might get... Like, I just noticed that I feel... There's a few things that I notice. I think... like you said, some days you're going to feel more optimistic and more happy. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when I say it out loud, I feel like, oh, that's not, I can't have that.
Yeah, I call that the fraud factor. And when you have some goals that are really outside of your comfort zone, remember I told you your brain is going to try and protect you from disappointment. So you end up having this feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm such a fraud. And doing this repeatedly, just moving through this, ends up helping your brain to create a new neural pathway, which is a belief pathway. And as you repeat it, as you write it, you read it, and you see yourself in the completed goal, you're training your brain to believe that this is my new reality. I believe I can have this. But until you have actually created that new path, which only comes through repetition, you're going to have that feeling of fraud. I have a girlfriend of mine who is a scientist, and she's very, very good. She makes six figures. She's brilliant as a scientist. And what she wanted to do was sing and be paid for it. Well, that her friends had told her she was really good at karaoke. Her family thought she was a good singer, but she wanted to sing on a stage and be paid for it. She was writing it down, and after about the first month, she called me up and she says, May, I feel like such a fraud. I'm going to give up on this goal. I don't see how it's possible. But your rational mind is trying to talk you out of it. This is what was going on. This is a natural process. And so she was at that stage where her brain was telling her, there's just no way. You can't do this. Keep your day job. And I asked her to just keep persisting, because what she was doing was creating this new neural pathway, this new belief pathway. And after about 6 months, she was invited to a party at this really awesome, very, very, very beautiful home. And over in the corner was a trio. There was a singer and a couple of musicians, and this woman was singing, and she kept watching the woman and thinking, well, wait a minute, I could do that. Because remember, she's been doing that in her mind every day as part of her practice. She knows what it feels like. She knows what she looks like. She knows that everything about it, she's made it so welcome. And as she saw this woman singing, she was able to compare and go, you know what? I could do that. I could do that. Well, that what meant that this was now a possibility. She had done this belief work. And so she ended up having a bunch of different invitations to different events. And she was at this one where a guy from across the room, it was almost like she was illuminated in a spotlight. He just beelined it through the crowd right up to her and said, hi, and introduced himself. And during their conversation, he said that one of the things that he had been charged with is to put on this community program with entertainers and musicians and things like that. And all of a sudden, her gut just wrenched. And it was telling her, it was almost like her gut was yelling at her, saying, tell him you're a singer. Tell him you're a singer. So she blurted that out, and he invited her to come audition. Well, she got a part. Now, it's a community event. It wasn't a very big paying part, but it was a part. She accomplished the first step of her goal. Now, of course, she's singing at bigger venues. She still loves being a scientist, but on weekends and in the evening, she's been invited and gets paid to sing at different venues and is loving life, just loving it.
That's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that story. And that's one of the things that I love about your book. So again, we are speaking with May McCarthy, and she's the author of The Path to Wealth, 7 Spiritual Steps for Financial Abundance. And it's filled with stories and examples. I have so many highlighted, like everywhere it's highlighted. And that's why I was saying at the beginning of the show, I think that this is, for the beginning at least, the book that you read for inspiration in the morning. It's a good idea to read this because there's so many examples, and then you can always go back to the tips. So that's what I'm going to be doing from now on until it's like a set habit for me. And but you also give examples of some of your letters, and one of the things that I found, I don't know how common this is, but once I read your letters, I was like, well, mine aren't good enough, Do you ever hear that?
Yes, I do. And remember, I've been doing this for 35 years. Okay, so what I will tell you is that when you're doing the imaging part of your practice, the next day, describe in your writing what you saw and experienced. All right? Describe what you saw and experienced, and use terms like I now have, or I now am, or I now experience. Okay? And describe the picture that you saw, rather than using terms like I want. So many people will have goals like, I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to get out of debt. Well, remember I told you about your subconscious going on high alert to point out evidence, like that car driving around on the road before you bought it. It's going to go on high alert to point out evidence to make your statements true. So if your goal is to be wanting to lose, my goal is to be wanting to lose 10 pounds, then you always have to be 10 pounds overweight so that you can achieve the wanting to lose part. So a better way to word that would be, I am so grateful that I now am physically fit, trim, toned, energetic, in a healthy, pain-free body that's filled with energy and vitality, and I look so great in my clothes and feel powerful. You know, that's the kind of stuff you'll see in your mind's eye in the imaging part. You'll see yourself in that healthy body. You'll see yourself in that wardrobe that you want to be wearing. You'll see yourself having fun doing things with your friends and family that are really, really delightful because you're physically fit. So describe what you see in your mind's eye, and every day it'll get different. And you'll get to the point where your descriptors really, really do something within you. They make you click. They make you believe it faster. Okay?
Cool. Thank you. So it sounds like you have, I mean, you can have an idea of, oh, I'd like to be 10 pounds thinner than I am now. But when you're describing it in your letter, you're not using 10 pounds. You're keeping it general, and really the goal, I mean, the reason you want to lose 10 pounds is because you want to feel good, you want to look good. So
Right.
that's the
So,
goal.
I mean, you can have a weight goal, you know. I mean, I have a friend who is a man, and his weight goal is 190 pounds. So he'll say, you know, I'm physically fit, trim, toned, energetic, and a 190-pound body, strong. I can do all I enjoy doing skiing and scuba diving and golfing, and I'm now a single-digit handicap golfer. I mean, he describes it as he's trying to describe the picture of the completed goal.
Okay, rather than just so
Yeah.
another thing that I was kind of thinking of doing, because I was writing it out longhand, and then my hand would get tired, and it was like it's been like 45 minutes. I can't be writing like,
Yeah,
and
don't do that.
yeah,
That's something I'll caution you on, because what's more important than the length of time that you spend on this practice during, you know, in one day is consistency. And anyone in any profession will tell you that consistency is always, always more important to achieving your goals than, you know, an hour one day and, you know, 45 minutes 3 days from now. To do it every single day, keep it to 30 minutes. Okay? When I say that you write for only 10 minutes, that's it. You write for only 10 minutes. So you're going to want to prioritize your goals. You'll have one major goal in each major area of your life. You know, your health, your finances, your relationships, the use of your time and skills and talents, you know, in terms of your work. And I also throw in spirituality and recreation, but definitely spirituality has to go in there too. What I mean by spirituality is really, really understanding that inner wisdom, that inner intelligence within you, making that something that always alerts you to what you need to know. So make sure that you've got one in each major area of your life. And then if you have, you know, extra time, you know, throw in a second one for a particular area. But as you achieve your goals, those will come off the list and you can replace it with another one.
okay.
10
So
minutes.
awesome, thank you. That's very helpful, because I was finding like I've just been looking for ways to do it consistently. Like I'm aware that it's more important to do it every day than to
Yeah.
do it perfectly or for a really long time. Um, how, like, is it okay to sort of be like, dear CSO, which is the Chief Spiritual Officer? Is that right?
That's my endearing name for the source of your intuition. All right. You can call it whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. But I find that if I give that a name, then I'm more serious about my meeting time. So as a CEO, I surround myself in my office with people whose advice I value. I have a chief financial officer that advises us on the financial health of our company, a chief information officer who advises us on the technology that we should use in our company, as well as technology for our products. And also a chief operations officer, a chief marketing officer, and the list goes on. And so what I decided was that I really knew that this intuition, this source of intuition, could be the ultimate advisor. I mean, it could point me in directions to achieve goals that were way beyond my rational mind, my rational imagination. And so I wanted to value it, so I gave it the name Chief Spiritual Officer. Yeah, so you can call it whatever you want. I have lots of people that'll call it Source of Intuition or SOI. Some call it God. Some call it Divine Intelligence. Some call it Spirit. Some have other names like Fred, Mary. Whatever name represents for you the ultimate advisor, that's what you want to call it.
Okay. And I noticed also, because I'm sort of agnostic, so the whole God thing is, I believe in kind of a universal intelligence and that we're all connected, but I don't necessarily call it God. But I was calling it inner, like, knowing or something. And I noticed that having a name that felt a little bit separate from myself
Uh-huh.
helped to be able to give it up, because if it's my own intuition or my own consciousness, then somehow I'm still responsible for doing the work. So I
How about,
noticed.
how about if you called it universal intelligence? I mean, that's the name you just used when saying what you believe, is that there's a universal intelligence. It's everywhere, including you, but it's everywhere. It's in and through everything that's ever been created and everything that ever will be created. And there's so much about it we don't understand, but it doesn't negate the fact that it's available for us to tap into if we so choose to. And this book and this practice helps you to gain confidence that you can use that power, that power can help you to achieve what you want. Universal intelligence, that's a good one.
Yay. Thank you. That's very helpful. Okay, I have so many questions here. Okay, how important is it that the letters to our universal intelligence,
Uh-huh.
or Bob, be written in paragraphs? Like,
I,
could I just do it in point form and then elaborate as I'm speaking?
yeah, I do mine. I mix mine. I have in the practice I say to write out what you have that you're grateful for and to write out what you want as though you already have it. So if you read the letter, you wouldn't know what I had and what I didn't. It all looks like I already have it. So I intersperse. I kind of go in categories. So I might go in things that I'm grateful for and that I want in my personal life, my health, my each of the major areas, my work and my business, my relationships with family and friends. Okay, so I sort of go in categories, and I just keep writing on the next line. I don't separate paragraphs or anything like that.
Okay, but
None of that matters.
can it be like, so it's okay if it's just like a statement? Because when I was reading yours, like, it's just so written. I'm comparing, right? Uh, it's just so beautifully written and flowing and everything, and then I, I feel like, yeah. But you also said stick to 10 minutes,
Yeah,
so there's only so much you can write in 10 minutes.
right. And again, what you're doing is you're describing the completed goal that you saw in your head, okay, that you saw in your mind's eye. So when I started writing out my goal about my business and my customers and our products and things like that, it was very, statement oriented. But when I'd imagine seeing a happy customer using our products, what I would imagine was that our customers were delighted and they were so excited because they were using superior, low maintenance products that helped them to solve their problems. And they were so excited about the performance that they told all of their other hospital friends and colleagues that they should buy from us too. So that only came after I saw a happy customer in my mind's eye. I started just creating this sort of story about the experience that customer was having with our stuff. And the same thing for our employees, that I wanted them to really know that their job, that they were hugely successful and that they were helping their coworkers and their customers and their suppliers and vendors and every bit of creation in our world to be successful as well. I mean, I wanted that for them. So those are the kinds of things that I started writing down about our business. But it only came through a period of, first I went for the statements, and then I went to the next step, and so on and so forth, until I had some real clear pictures in my mind, and then I was able to describe it in that flowery language you're talking about.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, so it's a process. It'll change. That's why you do it every day. It'll change as you have insights and as you see different things in your mind's eye. Like my that example of, the Uncle Bob story. When she was seeing herself at a happy family reunion, it wasn't about Uncle Bob at all. It was about her experience. So she was able to change her words. And never beat yourself up. This is a process. The most important thing is doing it every day.
So it's not about getting it right, it's about doing it every day.
Every day.
Okay.
It'll evolve and progress. And your universal intelligence may tell you, to modify it a little bit in order to make it more personal to you. But do it as written for 30 days, just so you can get in the habit.
Wonderful. Again, we are speaking right now with the lovely May McCarthy. She is the author of The Path to Wealth, 7 Spiritual Steps for Financial Abundance. And you can see that with all the little tabbies, and I've even I just went through this whole process of highlighting the edge so I know where there's highlighted. It's just full of highlighted bits that I can go to and use as inspiration every morning. And I don't have to go through hunting for it because there's lots of highlighted spots right there. So awesome. Thank you. And let's see. I think you kind of already answered this, but just maybe so we can elaborate a little bit more. How do you prevent it from being a chore?
That's choice and attitude. If you feel that it's a chore, you'll probably give it up. And if you can remember the last time that you were on some sort of a routine, maybe you started a health routine, or you started a routine to learn some skills to do a better job at your work. When it's a chore, the possibility of you giving it up is there. What I would say is, regardless of how you feel, it still works if you do it. And you'll move through that feeling to a better feeling once you start seeing the demonstrations and the achieved goals materialize. What I can tell you is that idea of a chore, feeling like a chore, is often, this is something that many New Thought writers have talked about, and Catherine Ponder, who you mentioned earlier, is a person that talks about something called chemicalization. And often we have created a self-imposed limit to the amount of good that we can stand. And we're not, our whole being has said that that's as much good as I can stand, which is why a lot of times when people win the lottery, they end up losing it all. In fact, they end up being in worse shape than they were before they got the money. It's because they hadn't changed that limit, that self-imposed mental equivalence, that limit of good that they could stand. And what happens is everything in you wants to get you back to where it knows that it's normal. Even if it's not the place you want to be, it knows how to cope. Your brain knows that you know how to cope in that situation, that limitation. So what you have to do is break through that, and you might get an intuitive lead to go places, to be around people or be around things that are part of your goals. For instance, like my friend who went to a party and was around musicians and singers, and she made it more welcome, and she changed her mental equivalent to be, I could be a singer. I could be a paid professional singer. Other friends of mine that wanted to be professional speakers, and actually have that as their livelihood. They went and hung out and took classes and met with professional speakers who, get $25,000 per keynote event, and started to relate to them. Another friend of mine wanted to be a PhD, and so she signed up for some conferences that similar PhDs go to, and she got a chance to interact with them. Another friend wanted a new home, so she went around to a whole bunch of open houses, and she sat on the chairs, and she went into the kitchen and imagined herself bringing in the groceries, and she made the environment welcome to her. Then the next day when she was writing out her goals, it was more real. It seemed a little bit more possible. Therefore, she was filled with a lot of joy as she was doing the routine.
So, May, that's really helpful, and I'm wondering if we can talk a little bit about the difference between, this is my goal, so I'm going to go and do all these things because I'm trying to force something to happen, or having it come from guidance or intuition and it being the next step.
Right. So you're not going to force anything to happen. You will be intuitively guided to do something, but it may be that you meet someone who took a training class, and somehow within you, that universal intelligence is saying, "Hey, you should check that out." So that's still an intuition. That's still a step. You still have to do the work, but you might be guided and directed. In one of my businesses, I had distributed a very large piece of equipment that took bottles of medications, pills and capsules and stuff, and packaged them in little individual cellophane packets in 1 second a dose. So they had all these strips of medications in one pill per package that was packaged and printed on in 1 second per dose. Big time saver. But those pieces of equipment were really, really, really prone to a lot of maintenance. And so in the next company that I started, I didn't want to carry that piece of equipment, even though our customers really wanted it. So I kept asking for leads from Universal Intelligence. CSO, I need another lead. Is this something we're supposed to do or not? Is there a better solution? Here's what I want. I'm so grateful that all the equipment that we provide to our customers is easily maintained, operates in a superior fashion, and that they love it and are able to accomplish their goals and objectives, okay? That was completely contrary to my experience, which was a really, really, really heavy-duty maintenance requirement of that machine. So things happen. I got notices on email about going to Orlando, where this manufacturer's representative was located, and it was like a 1 hour sale for this special rate which was ridiculously low to fly from Seattle to Orlando. And I thought, okay, well, I have customers there too, so I'll go ahead and buy this. And I kept saying over and over again, if this is something we're supposed to do, give me a definite lead. And a lead would show up, a lead would show up, a lead would show up, and then the strong thought showed up that I would tell the manufacturer that we weren't going to be doing the maintenance, that they needed to put the maintenance crew together and we would just pay them. So their people could fly all over the country and do the maintenance part, and we would just pay them for that service. And that's never been ever done in our industry. The manufacturers never agree to that sort of scenario, but they did. So that intuitive thought came from universal intelligence, because there was nothing in my past that would have said, even proposed that. Does that help? So I'm not forcing it to happen. What I kept saying was, if it's something that's supposed to happen, let it be easy and joyful. And here's what I want. I want maintenance-free, low cost, superior quality service for my customers.
Awesome. Yeah, that is very helpful, because you had mentioned the lottery and how people often, when they win the lottery, it's the same as if you win the lottery within a year or two, you're back to your normal baseline. If you have some severe, end up in a wheelchair or something, a year or two later, you're back to where you were before. Whether you were optimistic, pessimistic, you kind of balance out. And I noticed that a lot of people, myself included, because I can't see how this success is going to come about, the only thing that my mind can think of is, well, the lottery or some kind of inheritance or something. So how do you get out of, like, if you had said, oh, well, that's never been done, so it's not possible.
Right. So first of all, in this partnership with Universal Intelligence, you have your job, and Universal Intelligence has its job. They are not the same job. This is a partnership, like a business partnership, or you and your boyfriend live together, right? So you have duties that, there's stuff he does, there's stuff you do that make this partnership work, right? Okay, so this is a similar kind of relationship. Your job is to figure out what it is that you want and be grateful for receiving it in advance, all right? So you describe it as though it's already completed. Your universal intelligence's job is to create the path for you to get there. You don't get to do that anymore. And this is really, really, really hard, because most of us that are overachievers, especially, we want to set a goal and every single step that we're going to take to reach that goal. You can't do that anymore. It's not. You wait for an intuitive hit that tells you what the next step is. What will happen is the path that you end up being led on will be beyond your imagination. It will be beyond your rational mind. You would have never thought of those steps to achieve your goal. There, as you know in the book, there are countless examples of that, but you get to either take the step that you're led to take, or you can ask for another lead. And it goes like this. Hey, Universal Intelligence, I don't know if this is from you, but I need another lead. A more obvious lead this time, please. And that's it. And you wait. And you'll get one. What you're not allowed to do is do nothing, which is what most of us do when we get an intuitive hit that does not make sense. If we can't measure it, analyze it, figure out, we sort of think, okay, well, if we take that step, what are all the possible outcomes? And am I willing to accept that? Stop it. You are not allowed to do that anymore. You either take the step, even though you don't know even what goal that's going for, or you ask for another lead. Those are your only two choices. Eventually, you'll get another lead, or if, like in the case of that equipment manufacturer in Florida, it took me like 20 times of asking for another lead. I need another lead because I was so resistant. I just didn't want to do that. But I was so resistant. Meanwhile, I am writing out financial goals and experience goals for my customer, and this particular type of product really would have helped them. So I kept asking for leads, and after about the 20th one, which was really obvious, I finally just surrendered and said, okay, I'll take the step, I'll buy the ticket, I'll make the appointment, but I need some more obvious signs on what to say, on how to propose a deal for this company if they're the right one that we're supposed to work with. And if not, slam the door and point me in a new direction. So that's how you work it. Your job is to figure out what you want, describe it with gratitude as though it's already complete. Your universal intelligence's job is to create the path and give you one step to take at a time along that path. You either take the step or you ask for another lead. That's it.
So no chickening out. You've got to be clear. Yeah.
Yeah, you just can't do nothing. You can't do nothing. And I can tell you that many, many, many famous and successful people have said that they've relied on intuition as their tool for success. Bill Gates said often he has to rely on intuition. And Steve Jobs of Apple, he was really brilliant in advising us that you actually have to have courage. You have to have courage to follow your heart and your intuition. And Oprah Winfrey, who I'm sure you would agree is, one of the most influential women of our century, what she said was that she had listened to that still small voice of intuition her whole life. And the only times that she made mistakes is when she didn't listen, when she chose to do nothing. So don't do nothing anymore. Either take the step or ask for another lead.
And I think that that's part of is it the fifth step? Looking for demonstrations all day?
Yeah, expecting and watching for leads, right?
And that's sort of how, I guess, like you said, it starts out with a statement and then it kind of builds over time. The same with looking for leads. As you continue doing it, you're going to learn what's a lead and what's you trying to force it. And
Right.
you're going to fine tune that inner knowing.
Right, and that's why when you get an intuitive hit or a lead, at the beginning you might not know how to interpret it, or you might think, oh, that was just a fleeting thought. That's when you say, even if it's a fleeting thought, you just say, look, universal intelligence, I don't know if this is from you, but if it is, I need another lead, a more obvious lead. If it's not, then I'll know that it was a fleeting thought. And you'll start to get in the groove. Sometimes my gut will hurt, literally hurt, when I'm being given a lead. But it's a different kind of hurt than a fear hurt. Okay, my gut will wrench when I'm scared. But your gut wrenching when your source of intuition is giving you a lead is a different feeling. And you'll know that. But even if you get a fear gut wrench, just say, I don't know if this is from you, universal intelligence, but if it is, I need another lead. And keep saying that, and you'll get one. If it's from your universal intelligence. If not, then yeah, it was probably a fear thing.
Okay, wonderful. Well, it has been such a pleasure to speak with you. One of the things I'm so grateful for is that not only do I get introduced to all of these amazing books and wisdom, but then I get to ask you for help with how to get the most out of it. So I'm so blessed and so thankful for that. We have been speaking with May McCarthy. She's the author of The Path to Wealth, 7 Spiritual Steps for Financial Abundance. And what's the best place to get in touch with you?
If you'd go to, hold my book up so they can see the spelling of my name. If you go to maymccarthy.com, that's maymccarthy.com, you'll see a little bit more information about me and my book. And also for your viewers, Marie, I'm happy on my website at maymccarthy.com, they can download the first 3 chapters for free.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Yay. Okay. And I will also, if you're watching on YouTube, I will post the link to maymccarthy.com so that you don't even have to spell it out. You just click on the link. So we just have a couple minutes left in the show, May, and I'm wondering, what would you like to leave viewers and listeners with today?
I would like to leave them with the most common mistake that people make. And that is that they talk about what they don't want. And then they're surprised why they get it. So if you don't want something, your subconscious can't hear don't want. So if you say, I don't want to get sick because everybody at the office has the flu, your subconscious is only going to hear get sick and help you to figure out a way to make that true. So don't describe things as you don't want them. Describe them as though you do want something. So if you don't want to get sick, the opposite of that is, I'm so grateful that I'm healthy. Make sure you really are careful about how you use your words, because they're incredibly powerful. You are a creative force in the world, and your subconscious is going to filter data and point you to notice possibilities to make your statements true. So if you don't like something or you don't want something, it actually is going to point out possibilities to make those things. You're going to see more evidence that those things that you don't want are showing up more in your life. So describe what you want with gratitude as though you've already achieved it instead, and you'll start to notice evidence that that is the truth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, May McCarthy, maymccarthy.com, The Path to Wealth, 7 spiritual steps for financial abundance and any other kind of abundance and wonderfulness that you want in your life. So thank you so much for being with us today. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do share this. If you were inspired, subscribe to this channel, and of course go ahead and click on maymccarthy.com, where you can download the first 3 chapters of the book for free, which is awesome because then you can get started right away. But I do recommend having the book so that you can keep up with the practice and really get clear, because it's easy to sort of think, oh yeah, I got it, and then it's like a game of telephone. Over time it kind of degrades a little bit. So check it out, and don't loan out the book to anyone else until you've really got it down pat for yourself. Yeah, The Path to Wealth. So thank you so much, May, for being with us, and thank you for watching and listening. I want to send you lots of love. Be well. I love